every day that we're alive, we're only getting older. And the second thing is we're at more risk for health issues the longer we wait. So I typically find that if I'm having a conversation with a younger person, again, this is the good part about our firm, we tailor our conversations based off need. So it's not a one size fit all. Let's try to fit a round peg into a square hole. It's how can we find the best solution set for somebody based off where they're at in life. So a younger person may not have as much needs for, in case my spouse, they're 20, they just got a house, they may not be married yet. So we're focusing on income replacement if they can't work, because they don't have a ton of savings. They don't have a big retirement nest egg.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Executive Intelligence, where business leadership meets artificial intelligence. I'm your host, Dagen Davis, and today we have Kip Kemboi. He is the owner of Kemboi Financial Agency. Kip, thanks for joining us.
Much appreciated. Thank you, Dagen, and I'm looking forward to pouring to the audience today. So I appreciate you again.
Yeah, definitely. I know we've known each other for quite some time, and I really appreciate you coming on the show and helping me out here.
That's it, 100%. Let's see what we can get going on today. I like it.
Yeah. So, one of our biggest requests just starting out is at the beginning of the episode, people want to know what you do and who you are. If you could just kind of go into that for people who are not familiar with you or the Kemboi Financial Agency.
Yeah. So first off, Kip Kemboi, here located in Houston, Texas, and what my agency does, we're a life insurance retirement based organization. We deal with all 50 states, and we just really do a lot of financial planning, insurance planning in different fields, whether it's final expense, mortgage protection, infinite banking, retirement through things like annuities or IULs. We got various products, various ways of helping families. My background before I even got into insurance, graduated with a sports psychology degree, went out to train athletes. It was really fun. I was a former athlete myself, got to train people at exos at a pro level. These are people who were at NFL, MLB, looking to do combine prep. And it was just fantastic. So that kind of was my intro in, and I got into the insurance space.
And what sports did you play?
So I played at a higher level. I played football. I played basketball when I was really young, but football through high school. I did do a walk-on in college for D1 at football for a semester.
Okay, awesome. And then what ultimately got you into, I know you kind of touched on it very lightly there, but into the insurance, the financial services industry?
Yeah. So I think most people growing up, we get sold like the American dream and we focus on, going to college, getting a good degree, working at a prestigious location. And I don't know, like I went to Exos and loved what I did. I was passionate about working with athletes. I love strength and conditioning, but I talked to a lot of trainers and I saw what the cap was with income. Now, some of my passions were, getting into things like real estate, other things down the road, building more of a legacy. And I just didn't see that path take me there. So I had a good conversation with a friend, my last semester in college. He was in insurance at that time. And he was like, Kip, you got to take a look. So, kind of me, I Googled insurance versus real estate. And real estate, I saw there was more realtors than real estate in the United States. So I said, okay, let me look into insurance. And I kind of kept going down that road. Now, in that series of events, I picked up a short stint selling AT&T inside of Sam's Club. And I remember a gentleman approached me. I was really bad at what I was doing. I was not making a ton of sales, so I'm not like a massive sales guy. The gentleman came up to me and said, hey, you look good at what you do. We had a short conversation. I tried to offer him some AT&T. He said, I'm good. I've got Xfinity. And at that point, he gave me a business card for my organization that's part of Symmetry Financial Group. And I saw the opportunity. It made a lot of sense. I like the brokerage style. I like the ability to kind of help multiple families.
Okay. Is there a particular type of client or families that you can work with?
Yeah. So most people who come into our organization, they're picking up from a very like a basic standpoint because you want to get the industry down first. So final expense, mortgage protection tends to be the point of entry for most people coming in our space. Once you get confident, and those are very easy concepts to scale. You can start working into advanced markets. There's a ton of other things we do with retirements, but you do want to get the basics first before you start to move up the chain.
Okay. Sounds good. So you can work with really anyone that has a mortgage. Is that correct?
That's right. And then our products cover anywhere from 14 days to age 85 if you're talking about life insurance, 89 if you're talking about critical illness. So really anything is fair game. So anybody can be a client. It's just finding the need and make sure we solve that need.
Okay. Do you only work in Texas?
No, no, no. So we are licensed. We got agents right now. Personally, I'm licensed in 42 of the 50 states. We've got agents across the board in multiple states. I've got people all the way in Hawaii, all the way up to West Coast, up to East Coast and DC area. So we've got people everywhere. You can do this virtually at any point in time.
Okay. And then are these people working directly for your agency? And how does that relationship work?
Yep. So the good thing about our space is we first off, you are working through my team. So I'm going to help you by developing you as an agent. You get a lot of coaching and training work with an agency, but you're direct to every carrier that we work with. So if you got a contract with us, you're direct through the Mutual of Omahas, the Foresters, the Transamericas, all the companies. So you're direct to those carriers. You're just taking advantage of the training opportunity that you have with these organizations. And particularly with my agency, Kemboi Financial Agency, we do a lot hands-on training week to week during the week for an agency.
Okay. And then we usually touch on something like this at the end, but since it's on the topic, if someone's listening right now that wants to learn a little bit more, how do they get in touch with you about becoming an agent for your agency?
Excellent stuff. So you can do a couple different ways. One, I can give my contact information at the end if that's okay onto the call, but you can also follow me on socials. Instagram, I've got Kemboi Financial. TikTok, Kemboi Financial Agency. Facebook, it's the same thing. LinkedIn, it's the same thing. One thing that I was taught very early on is that you want to cover all spaces. You've got to be present in all areas. So I am on all the social media platforms, including YouTube. So you can follow Kemboi Financial Agency on each one of those channels.
And there's licensing that is needed
That is
to
correct.
start
So,
selling?
yep. So we are federally regulated, state regulated. That's a good part of our industry. You know, we're not taking everybody. The course is pretty quick. We have a discount code that can help drop it down in your state. Pass that. And again, that's something we talk about when I move forward to the hire. They pass that. They take a state exam. They do the fingerprints. As soon as they're licensed in their state, we're able to help them learn how to protect families.
How long has your agency been around?
I personally have been doing this since 2018. I started really building my organization 1 year into the business. 2021, I formed an LLC. So it's been around for at least 5 years. If we're talking about LLC, but I've been in the industry for 8.
Great, great. So you've been in this space for quite a while now, several years. And so what I want to understand is what's the biggest financial and even insurance challenges that families are facing today that you see?
That's a great question, Dagen. And I think I learned this through in 2019. So most people don't know there's a website called usdebtclock.org. And when I was doing a training, it was around a concept to help people eliminate debts. And we still do that same concept today. It's called the Debt Free Life Program. And when you go to that website, back then it was only like 20 some trillion. I say only because it's grown, but right now in the US, we are currently as a country, as a nation, 39 trillion in debt as of when I checked this morning. So it could climb a little bit, but 39 trillion in debt. So most families are dealing with a debt problem. And it just comes back to, the cost of living keeps increasing, the wages are increasing. So people find themselves borrowing more and more. I think even recently we were kind of joking at the office, but they're looking to approve 50-year mortgages, right? And the amortization on that is going to be crazy. So I think helping families get out of debt with a really neat concept that we have using insurance products, that's kind of a very easy starting point for most families, especially with like a mortgage protection conversation.
Okay, that's great. And then one thing that I think of, and I think most I would say Americans think of when they hear the word insurance is, you think about the insurance that you need, right? Your medical, healthcare, car insurance, the things that are either needed or required. You're not really thinking about like a life insurance per se. And then when you do think about that, you think about that more maybe mid to later in your life where you're thinking about the possibility of passing away suddenly, something like that. Now, no one wants that, but what would you say to when should people start to get involved with just really looking at life insurance?
So good. I tell people yesterday. I tell people the moment you're thinking about it is the time you should be doing it, because two facts: we're only getting older every day that we're alive. We're only getting older, and the second thing is we're at more risk for health issues the longer we wait. So I typically find that if I'm having a conversation with a younger person, again, this is the good part about our firm, we tailor our conversations based off need. So it's not a one size fit all. Let's try to fit a round peg into a square hole. It's how can we find the best solution set for somebody based off where they're at in life. So a younger person may not have as much needs for, in case my spouse, they're 20, they just got a house, they may not be married yet, so we're focusing on income replacement if they can't work, because they don't have a ton of savings. They don't have a big retirement nest egg. There is some life insurance needs too. But as you get married, as you have kids, as you get grandkids, as you get closer to retirement, your needs are going to change. We have different products that can hit those needs. And we're really just trying to give awareness to that person who has an intent, maybe like mortgage protection, for example. Hey, I want to protect my house in case I pass away, but hey, you have other needs as well. Let's dive into that and see, okay, how can we make sure this fits your budget? Because in the day, if a policy is not in place when something happens, it didn't do its job. We're not just trying to sell you something that doesn't stay in place. We're trying to figure out how can we keep this in place for you long term, protect your family.
Okay. Can you dive into the mortgage protection a little bit more? I think that's something that's I don't know if you see this a lot, but I don't hear a lot of people talking about that. So I think it's something that's not very commonly spoken about. So could you dive into a little bit more of the details of exactly what that does for you?
100%. So you've got, I think most people realize that their biggest asset is their ability to make income. So as long as we have an ability to work, get a job, make sure income's coming in, that's going to keep everything we have in life in place. Now, again, most people at younger ages don't think of this as much. They don't think about mortality as much. Older people tend to do it more, but they're in a different category. I'll talk about that in a second. But people are thinking about, okay, if something happens to me, I don't want my other spouse, counterpart, kids, grandkids having to figure out the bill of the mortgage. So it's really a cash flow problem. If it's a husband and wife, it's making sure, hey, if the one spouse goes, how can we make sure that the biggest bill, which is typically the mortgage, is off the table? If they're young and they're healthy, how can we do that with a policy that costs them the least amount? That does also include things like living benefits, like the terminal, the chronic, the critical illnesses, in case they get things like a heart attack, a stroke, or cancer while they're alive, to protect that home and pay out to the family member that they want to protect. Now, if they're older, this is one thing I know as older people, because they are having maybe some health issues, or maybe because of age, the insurance starts to price out. End of the
Mm.
day, the lender's not saying, hey, we need the whole mortgage today. What they're saying is we need the next mortgage payment. So if you can give that family a year, 2 years, 3 years worth of mortgage payments, that gives the spouse, the next of kin, people who want to keep the house or sell it, time. And if you remember, Dagan, you probably remember 2008 when the markets were crashing due to a mortgage crisis. You couldn't just sell a house to anybody back then. You had to wait it out, had to wait out the market. And that's what these type of plans do, is it buys time for family members not to have to make a fire sale on the equity, or to pass through some really good heirlooms just because I have to sell it quick.
Yeah, not having to make a quick decision and probably losing out on some money there.
Yep, got it.
Awesome. Well, when it comes to, so you're doing these deals all the time, I would imagine. You see all the good and the bad from it. You probably even replace some policies from some other companies. So I'm sure you've seen some bad ones. Um, what what financial mistakes are families commonly making when they're buying into these products?
Yeah, so and a good point on the replacement side, because I think most of the conversation that has been appropriate, because in the day, it's, we're trying to figure out needs and make sure things make sense to families. Most people don't know what they got, and when I call a family, even with mortgage protection, because we have ways of getting in front of that, final expense. It doesn't matter what we're working. People don't know what they have if they have something already. You ask them some basic questions. When does this policy end? How long is it level? When does the premiums go up on you? They don't know. Everybody will just assume it's good for my whole life. It's the lowest cost ever, and it's giving me like $1 million. And then you start asking more questions, and you find out, oh, okay, this is worth having a conversation with the insurance company. So it's not about let's call and see how to change it. It's more about let's get you aware of what you have. So in one bucket, I have people that, just don't have any living benefits on a policy. They got an old school policy that just pays out when they die. And if it's recent enough, you compare it to things that we have nowadays, they can get all those living benefits built in at a cheaper price. So the value and what it can do for them and their family goes up tremendously. So that's one half. The other half is people who have policies that aren't designed well. So we have, obviously, a lot of people are aware of things that are cash value accumulating, like IULs, VULs, participating whole lives, which can be sold as infinite banks. And a majority of the time, I've seen these type of policies are being sold by somebody who's close to them, maybe a family member, maybe a friend. And it's the trust, hey, this person's not going to do me wrong, but they don't really think, does this person really know what they're doing? So they don't actually take the time. And, a lot of times those conversations may be more defensive, like, oh, I already got that. But when they investigate, and a good example is if you're looking at like an IUL, for example, and you're like, hey, I want
What's
to
that?
use Index Universal Life.
Okay.
Index Universal Life. Yep, just for the people listening. So Index Universal Life, which can be used as a tool to help build up tax-free wealth. Now, one of the rules of thumb I see is that if you're wanting to build it for cash, and I'm looking at your policy in the first 2 years, there's zero in the cash value in the surrender column. And I look at the death benefit, it's a level number. It's not a random number. It's like 250, 500,000, a million. Most of the time, those are built for a death benefit focus, which great for the agent, doesn't do good for the client. So with a thorough investigation and talking with them and kind of getting the illustration, breaking it down, all of a sudden now they're like, well, I could let this do more for me if I do right. And they're looking at a different way to help their family.
Okay, great. Well, that's some great insight there, and thanks for explaining and diving into that for us. We're gonna cut to a quick commercial break, and then Kip, we will be right back. Hi, everybody. Dagen here. If you're seeing me talking to you right now, that means that this commercial ad spot is vacant and it's available for your company in your area. It will only show to your area. So please contact us today at dagenmedia.com if you're interested in becoming a sponsor. All right, and we're back to our episode of Executive Intelligence with Kip Kemboi here. He is the owner of Kemboi Financial Agency. And so we talked a lot about your business in the first half of the episode. Now, my favorite part, I want to get to the theme of the show here, and that is AI. So AI, I use it every day. I want to know what you're doing in your agency with AI.
Sir. So I've got a bittersweet, relationship with AI, because I feel like, one, it's taken over a lot of industries, which it's good sometimes for our industry because there's a lot of people who are high quality people we don't never come across, but they're looking for opportunities that won't get taken over by AI. So I feel like our industry is fairly immune to a full takeover because it's a people business. People want to work with, actual people when it comes to filing claims, selecting a process to protect their families. But I've learned not to be 100% opposed to it because it can help enhance what we do. So a couple of things that I've seen AI do in our agency is, just client follow-up, basic things like automations. So a lot of people who have done insurance for quite some time have a book of business. And a good advisor should be staying in front of those clients at least once a year, checking on needs, making sure things are still good, seeing if there's any additional ways you can help. It's a good practice for anybody. So with a bigger book of business, there's a challenge in trying to do that every single year with every policyholder. So at some point, personally, I had a bottleneck where I think at this point now I have personally over 1,400 clients that I have protected since 2018. So that's my personal actually helping the families out. So it was getting challenging helping service those families, plus help build my team and develop my agency. So leverage the CRM that can help us with automations when it comes to getting in front of the clients, client birthdays. Of course, when we're booking reminders, they're getting the reminders. So that's saving you if you've got 15 plus appointments a week and you're helping families, you're not having the time to text everybody, a day before, 30 minutes before the appointment. You're going to say, let me use software like that has AI that can send those automations for me. So I think a lot of our team right now is seeing the power of just using that. One edge of it that I'm kind of like still kind of on the edge of it is using it for automations on the dialing side. So I'm not a huge fan of like robo dialing because I think that kind of blow up the client and they can feel a little bit more like it's aggressive. But I think like using a dialer where it can read off a CRM and keep you in front of your clients can help with the efficiency of an agent. Because we got people who come here part-time, old school, like we used to do back in the day, dating with our phones. It can take more time, but if you use the right type of system, you can get in front of more people in a faster time with the right dial that's hooked up to the CRM. So I think it's just balancing the power of AI without letting it overtake the business. That's how we're using it.
Okay. Well, I've got an important question for you. So you're telling me that my insurance agent right now, when he texts me or sends me an email, that's not him thinking about how good of a customer I am. That's just an automation.
I might have put out a little known secret, but yeah, that is the automation. And don't be mad at us because the reason I picked this up was actually when I went to the car auto mechanic shop. I saw my mechanic had sent some reminders. I said, well, if he could do it, I can do it too. He had
Right,
some
right.
CRM. I was like, okay, it's okay for us to do it too.
Yeah, no, I mean, AI and automation isn't new. Automation has been there for a while now, but AI included in that automation and starting to help trigger those things and run, or even write the copy for different things is helpful. But I mean, I think you touched on a really good point. It's more of a tool than anything, and that's how people should see it. I know a lot of people that I talk to are very, very worried about their industry, their or even their jobs. Some friends, neighbors, they're just worried about their jobs getting taken over, and that's just I don't think that's going to be the case. We have an entire governmental system behind us that whether you like it or not, I think they're going to end up intervening at some point and helping the people, right? And so I don't think we're going to get to the point where just AI is doing every job. And then you make a really good point as well, where if you're in an industry where there's a lot of face to face or even virtual face to face like this, you're probably not losing your job at least anytime soon, because AI it's gonna be hard to have that human interaction with AI.
People want to talk with people, and I think most people who look at it as a tool understand that end of the day, my client is going to want to talk to me. They want to get a form of real human connection with the person they're working with. And I think that's an edge that in this kind of era where AI is getting more and more enhanced, I think as you're going through these eras, there's going to be an excess that has to have a correction at some point. But the people who will stand out in that process are people who are developing their people skills, honing conversation, how to stay connected. Because in the day, that's what the person wants. If you're talking to an elderly person who's 80 years old looking to protect final expense, they want to talk to a real person who can connect with that they feel is just like their grandkid. They don't want to talk to someone who's just reading a script that sounds very automatic and talking to text message AI. So
Yeah. So where should agents draw the line and say, hey, this is not going to be AI, this is human? Where should that line be drawn? I know you mentioned a little bit like a phone call, even.
yeah. I think that if you take this business from the perspective of how can I protect my craft? How can I stand out in the sea of other agents or agencies? If you're building an agency, let's say with us, for example, is you want to create something that has an identity around one, your personality. The number two thing is going to be, it's going to be a place of care. One thing that AI can't do, it can't have empathy. So, your text messages, your contacts, people are going to get very used to whatever that verbiage is in the next 3 to 5 years. So when you send an actual picture of yourself as an engagement, oh, that's a real person. People want to see what the day to day looks like. It's not about being perfect. It's more about connecting. So I think if you just think of it from that perspective, and they're looking, how can I enhance without taking over? You can create a very strong identity in this space and other spaces while still leveraging the heavy lifting that AI can take care for an agent.
Okay, yeah, I think that makes sense. That's fair. Where do you see the future of AI in your industry specifically, or even let's talk a little bit more maybe on the financial planning on the personal side. How do you see that kind of affecting? Because I know people may start asking AI these questions that you could be answering. So how do you kind of work with people on that, knowing that that's happening with a Chat GPT, a Gemini, Grok, any of those?
Yeah. I think so how they can leverage it and how we can kind of stand out from that is I think that those type of systems can identify the strengths and weaknesses of products to help somebody figure out, is this a good fit for me? For example, hey, IUL versus our whole life. Like, hey, this one AI will quickly figure out, hey, this one has surrender charges, but has some upside returns with the index universal life. Whereas, hey, this participating whole life, it's got more liquidity with more guarantees built in, more leverageable. That's great to know. But then you're still going to want to talk to that advisor. So it's kind of like the doctor. It's like you can go Google what could I have? But in the day, you want that professional tells you, okay, you could be right, but this is really what it is, and I'm going to tailor it for you. So I think the AI part that can help us, risk assessment. So we have clients with different health issues, different backgrounds, different financial situations. So we have tools that you can plug that stuff into and can help spit out kind of suggestions for the advisor to work with. So I think it's still going to be a layer of the person or the advisor helping the client from a human perspective, coming from a place of care and empathy to figure out what's the best needs for that person. But AI can take care of all that now. It can take care of the placement for the policy, as well as like income gaps whenever you see what are they bringing in versus what they're putting out.
Okay. Yeah. So again, going back to a tool, it's just a tool on both sides that can, but then you have the human relationship that can kind of bridge that gap and make it all make sense.
Yep, you got it.
Awesome. So you've been an agency owner now for several years, and you've seen a lot of agents come in and out, I'm assuming. And so what are the most successful agents doing right?
I think everything comes back to simplicity. Is if you understand, simple things that work and you leverage simple things that work, you can scale. So I think, let's say I'm looking for the ideal type of person. Number one, an agent has to have extreme ownership, or a person who's looking at industry has to have extreme ownership. End of the day, this is a business. So there's the service part of what we do, which is helping families and protecting families. And then there's the business side, which is you got to stay in business in order to keep doing that. So if you don't stay in business long, guess what? You can care as much as you want, but you're not going to be there long enough to make a bigger impact. So three things I typically tell people is, number one, you have to have leads. You got to have resources. So two ways you can get in front of people: organic, which is going to be friends, family, referrals. Some point in time that dries up and it's not scalable. So you can protect all those people. They can maybe give you a referral or two, but at some point it just runs out, and then you're left trying to figure out, how can I get in front of more families? Now that need to protect people also gets surpassed by your human need of, I need to pay the bills, and then you
Exactly.
find yourself out the industry. So resources, our agency's plugged in with some pretty proprietary stuff through our organization that allows us to get in front of people vetted already. So you need to have a certain amount of resources per week in order for you to hit your numbers and be able to help families. Number two is mentorship and coaching. I think a lot of people who are coming into space have to understand, whether you've done sales or you haven't, that this is a different animal. So being in a mental headspace that, hey, if a person has success, I am not going to try to reinvent the wheel based off this person being here already and surviving what they say, three businesses, fail in 3 years. So it's like, this person has been
Yeah.
here, figured it out. Then let me figure out what they know so I can, multiply and duplicate that.
And
So
I think a lot of people do that, right? Maybe they're offered a mentorship or even a leader that they can look up to in that space, uh, or even a training program, and they kind of turn that down because they want to try to do it themselves. How important is, for example, a mentorship like that?
huge, huge. So I'll use myself as an example, but I didn't come from a sales background. I think I said that early in the conversation. Coach athletes, I had no sales experience. The time I did sales, I was terrible. And if I could look back, I think I remember the main thing was it felt like I was just being dropped into an environment where I had to figure it out, and it was kind of dog eat dog, and it was like, how do I win? And still kind of like I said before, it's like you still have the bills, you still have everything going, so it's not a very good environment for success. So mentorship bridges the gap. It says, okay, instead of me trying to figure out all the places and fall into this pit hole, it's like I can just talk to my mentor and get an answer on how this can work, and let me trust the process, because there's still a ramp up, build up in a new space. Let me not look for microwave success. I have to understand it's more like a crock pot.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you were used to scoring touchdowns, right? And then you
Exactly.
had to figure out how to sell. That's awesome. So one last question for you, and then I'll give you the floor to kind of promote or say anything that you'd like. Where do you see the future of financial planning or insurance planning going in the next, let's say, 5 to 10 years?
Yes, sir. I think if you're looking at the most successful people in every industry. So if you look at you can use Bezos and Amazon, for example. He didn't just try to dominate, one sector. He didn't say, let me be the number one place that you can buy diapers from, for example, and let me ship those across the country. He said, how can I do Walmart inside of a virtual store? How can I help everybody with everything? So I think the future is going to be looking like people who are kind of geared toward holistic planning, who are looking at how can I help somebody holistically. Yes, a need can arise based off maybe there's a lead type that says this is what the need is, but the people who really thrive and stand apart are people who say, okay, that's an urgent need, but how can I develop somebody and see how can I help for their whole financial journey? That can be finding gaps with accumulation. If they're younger, how can I get the nest egg bigger before they get to retirement? At older ages, that's preservation and distribution. It's okay, let's make sure they don't lose the money they built up. And also, how can we make sure the money that they do take out from the retirement doesn't end? So I think it's looking at it from a more holistic perspective that will kind of allow you to kind of stand apart in the future.
Okay. That makes sense. So we're gonna go ahead and start to wrap up the episode here. Kip, really enjoy you coming on. I always do this at the end of the episodes. I want to give you the chance to have the floor. Say whatever you would like, whatever's on your mind. If it's a promotion, if it's a advice, anything that you have, you've got the floor. You can go right ahead right now.
Appreciate that, Dagan. Thank you for that. Wasn't expecting that. That's pretty cool. I like that. I'm going to definitely visit again soon. I'd say little self promotion, but at the same time, I want to give some advice. So, one, we talked about mentorship. We talked about the ability to have some a tribe and people that you can work around, and a place you can build good business practices. I think in this space, that's very important. This has not changed. It's a client first industry. It's how can I help protect the family? How can I do the best thing for that person? It doesn't matter what a product pays out. So if you want to be in an environment where you can learn how to do that, but you can still thrive and you can still build something that can be there for you and your family. Doesn't matter if you want to do that just as a producer where you just want to help families, or if you're like, Kip, I'm just like you. I want to build an organization. I want to have some success with other people. we are home to that. So 2 things that I'm doing, launched this summer already, is one, I've got an office here in Houston, Texas, and we are building a massive, massive in-person team here in the office. So if you are local, I'm going to be looking to bring on more people that we can teach and learn the industry. So you don't have to have prior experience. If you're licensed already, that's fantastic. We will talk. But if you're unlicensed, even bigger opportunity because you're an open slate. So you don't have any bad habits. We can teach you how to work well in this industry and do the right things. The second piece is on the virtual side. So this is a virtual industry at this point. I can call a family, and I have licenses in Hawaii the same way I can call someone in DC. So I can help develop agents in any part of the country. If you're in a place that you're looking for a home, and you're looking for more of an environment that you can be part of where you can learn and grow, we've got that figured out with the virtual offices and the licensed agency, activation program we have here. You can plug in and move faster. So if you feel like you've been in a place of stuck or lack and like, I don't know how to make this thing happen, give me a call, give me a DM, give me a shout out. I'm here to help. And it's just a phone call or a DM away.
Okay. Great. And thank you for that. And if anyone's watching right now, you watched the whole episode and this is really piquing your interest and you do want to get a hold of Kip, what I'll do is I'll work with him to make sure that we have the links below on the description of the video. And then that'll be just really easy. You pop down to the description and you can find a way to get in touch with him.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Dagen. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, thanks for jumping on. And that'll do it for another episode of Executive Intelligence. We will see you guys next time.
Take care.
Hi, everybody. Dagen here. If you're seeing me talking to you right now, that means that this commercial ad spot is vacant and it's available for your company in your area. It will only show to your area. So please contact us today at dagenmedia.com if you're interested in becoming a sponsor.